Shalom, Israel. This is Sister Kana. And first and foremost, I have to give all glory, honor, and praise to Ahaya Asher Ahaya, Bahashem Yeshaya, Wakudash Wawak. Welcome to Nappy Hair Chronicles, where we are chronicalizing the awakening of the children of Israel. Praise Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya. Thank you for joining me all. And before I get started, let me just ask that you hit the like button and subscribe. You can send comments or things like that because y'all know the censoring is really bad. Like my videos are not being pushed out at all. Like I get kind of like 3 views now, but it's all glory and praise. I'm still going to come before you. I'm still going to come and talk to the children of Israel, encourage the children of Israel, warn the children of Israel, tell them what's going on. Hold on a second. Let me just let this. Okay, that was loud. Okay, I'm gonna still come on and warn and talk to the children, encourage you, tell you where the safe place is. Jordan is the safe place. America is Babylon the Great, which is falling according to Revelation 18. Get out, get out, get out. Okay, so I just want to welcome you all, and I'm going to also, my last video I did for the AHAYAH's Bible Book Club and journaling, my sound was completely off. I don't know how, because it didn't look like it was off to me. So I'm going to redo that video. So please look for that video because I'm going to redo it. We're into the book of Matthew. And I thought it was very important, some of the points I was able to go into. So please check out that video, like, share, subscribe, guys. We got to go extra hard because they're really trying to shut down the truth now. They're really trying to censor the information. So you really got to push and put out the information. Comment, subscribe. Okay, for today, I don't know what my thumbnail is going to be based on, where the Spirit leads. And I just want to say for those who are still in the Shabbat Shalom, I pray you had a blessed Shabbat. For those who have finished it, and I give all glory, honor, and praise to Ahaya, Asher Ahaya, Bahashem Yeshaya, Wakudash Wak. Our King, Yeshaya, is coming real soon. And I encourage you all to get out, get out, get out. It's not a game. A lot is going on. Get out of Babylon. Pack your bags and go, and know that there is a safe place. Jordan is that safe place. We must survive and make it here. And when you come out, you must start to learn to come back under the Lord's statutes and commandments that the Most High gave to our forefather Moses. That is the whole point. Ahaya is trying to bring us back into the wilderness so that we can feast unto him. And I think a couple of videos ago, I brought that out, that the reason why the Most High brought us out in the first place from Egypt, when we came out, he told Moses to tell Pharaoh so that the children of Israel can come and feast unto him. So we are to come and get the Lord's statutes, commandments. We are going to feast. So those holy days that I've been talking about for years are very important. You have to know when to feast. You have to know when to, and know when his holy days are. His calendar is very important. I have a series on my A Gathering in Jordan page called The Secrets of the Times, the knowing how to put your own calendar together, learning how to know the first day of the year, and then bring out your own calendar so you don't have to depend on everybody. And because there is a serious takedown in Babylon, and this is what I'm going to go into today about this, how much the takedown is. The infiltration, which I've been screaming out for years. Ahaya finally revealed it, where that brother from IUIC, Bishop Nathaniel, talked about this infiltration that happened in the early 90s and how they took over the Hebrew Israelite communities. So you can't trust them. And a lot of people are clinging to them because of the information. And this is what Christ warned us about in Matthew 24. Okay, so that brings me to what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to play a video on my phone because I'm still dealing with computer issues. But I want to reiterate that I will be doing my Matthew's Higher Book Club series again because the sound was off. I realized that late, and I'll redo it. I'll please check it out. I'll repost it. So that's why I have to do it this way, because the sound is things is getting real sketchy because of the information. Okay, so I don't know what the thumbnail is going to be as of yet, but I did want to cover these stories. Okay, everybody knows about Jaguar, right? A sister, a Hebrew Israelite sister who has been blowing the whistle on like Jay-Z and Diddy, and she even came out before the whole Diddy fiasco started. She came out and talked about how, how much of a monster Diddy was, how much of a monster Jay-Z was, and all the little ins and outs that was going on in the industry. Okay, so recently, no one would really ever sue her because of the things that she said, because a lot of the things was true, and they didn't want to really bring out all their dirty laundry. But here recently, Brian McKnight, who is also an R&B singer from the 90s, I think. Very, prolific songwriter. He's written many hits and over the years. So apparently, Jaguar Wright came out against Brian McKnight in one of her, talkings, and she spoke about him, how he was. So now he's suing her. He's one of the people that are bringing out a lawsuit against Jaguar White. Now, everybody want to go against Jaguar White. They say she's crazy, she's this, she's that. Okay, but what happened recently? She went to Mar-a-Lago. That's Trump's house in like Boston, somewhere, Massachusetts, up there somewhere, and she received an award from the president, a presidential award for like truth telling or something like that, whatever. But I mean, congrats to her. I don't want to make it not important. That's a big thing. Praise Ahaya. She was recognized for telling the truth. In lieu of Donald Trump as well, he's a truth teller as well. So he came about this fight as well. So I don't want to discredit that sister. Never, and I never spoke against her. I always believed what she was talking about, because we know how crazy the music industry is. And I've been a person who grew up in the music industry. Praise Ahaya. I've never had these things happen to me, because very young, when I was getting my first record deal, I prayed and asked the Most High to protect me. I prayed for the Most High's protection. Very young, when I first got my first record deal, like at 16, 17 years old, I was praying. So the Most High answered my prayers and He protected me. So I never really had these dealings in this music industry. Praise Ahaya. And I also talked about me being offered $1 million for a distribution of an album. It wasn't called The Highest Promise. It was called God's Promise at the time. And I passed it around and got someone interested. They offered me a deal to distribute it for $1 million. And I was about to go into it headstrong after all the little, I had little spurts. I had record deals, songs on the Billboard and things like that. But this was going to be a major thing for me. And the Most High woke me up. And I ended up going to Israel, and this is where I found a Gathering of Christ church, and I come out of my people, and the Most High sent me out of Babylon, and I have never looked back. Praise Ahaya is all I can say, and all I can just keep thanking the Most High, thanking Him, because I was praying and asking the Most High. So it leads me to my discussion today, because Jaguar Wright with this lawsuit against Brian McKnight. Brian McKnight is suing Jaguar Wright for some of the things that she has been saying. This is the first lawsuit. So I thought it something I wanted to speak about, because I had happened to meet Brian McKnight before. I was singing in background. It was for Michael Jackson at Madison Square Garden. It was a big thing, and I was in the chorus. I was in the chorus. I was one of the background singers, and I happened to go downstairs, and I was meeting somebody. Then they were in the garage, and Michael Jackson was coming in as I was coming out. I was, whew, you know. I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson. I was younger then, even more so. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up taking a picture with him. And I just fanned out. Like I forgot to say certain things. I should have gotten to sign an autograph. I was just fanned out. But I was singing, for him, but it was a big chorus choir, but I was one of the people in the choir, but I did get to meet Michael Jackson and hugged him, and I was just like, oh, happy to meet you. And he was like, I love you too. And I got a picture of him, and I had put it on my website, but it was like my first website, which then, has been taken down, so I don't have the picture anymore. But I do have the memories. So, and I also got to meet Brian McKnight. So, and he was, I don't know if he was performing that day. There was a lot of celebrities that day, all in Madison Square Garden, because it was a big thing going on. So I got to meet Brian McKnight, and I never forgot him. I thought that he was the most arrogant man and mean spirited man I've ever met. And, like in the ministry, he was just mean, and he didn't want to speak. He was famous, and people wanted to get his autograph and stuff like that. But when I tell you that the spirit was so off, it was so bad, it was so wrong, and I never forgot it. We were in one of the rooms. You know how like they have you in a holding room before you're gonna go and perform, you know. So he was in the holding room, and it was just like a few of us, maybe say like 15 people, So I was one of the people, and I just wanted to go and say hi, this and that. When I tell you how mean and nasty this man was, it was horrible. I never forgot it, and I never after that wanted to have anything to do with Brian McKnight. I mean, he was so mean. So, and spirit means spirited. So there's a lot of stuff online about how he is with his children. He ended up remarrying. He divorced his first wife and he got with another wife. And this wife seems to be mixed or even, either biracial or just another nation altogether. And he's doting and loving on this biracial woman so hard. And he's totally disrespecting his first wife, who's a daughter of Zion, black woman. He has black children. He's disowning the black children. He talks so bad against black children, and it started like a little subtly over the years. I heard about it. Yeah, he called the kids will spoil you, that they did, they didn't want to work, So at first, I was like, oh, well, kids will spoil you, maybe he's right. Even though I didn't like Brian McKnight because I met him and I thought he was a horrible human being. Just in that little meeting with him, I'm very big on discernment, first impressions, whatever the spirit leads me to, that's, what I will take from it. Because I know the Holy Spirit works and I know people will show you who they are. And when I tell you, I have to say this again, how horrible this man was. His spirit was totally ugly. And this was years ago. I mean, this was like in 2000, early 2000, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 5, something like 2005 or 2001. I forgot, but I'll look it up again because I forgot that I did background for Michael and Madison Square Garden. Anyway, so he just disowned his black children. He's disowning the black wife, talking very mean and hateful against them. Meanwhile, bigging up this other woman who is mixed nation. The children are mixed. Her two children that's not by him. He's just really, being really, really bad towards these people, towards his first wife. And it's something that I wanted to speak about because, how I talk about how our people are. We're suffering the curses for one. So this is the curses, part of the curses, like what Brian McKnight is dealing with. But because he's such a celebrity and because he's such a, known name, for him, this to be playing out, right in public, in the media about how horribly he treats his wife and his first children. Now there's a video, guys, and I have to find the video and I will play the video. So I'm going to pause right now and see if I can find that video first before I go on to the next story that I have. But I do want to say this, that the curses, and when you read Deuteronomy 28, it talks about how, the men would leave their children and leave their first loves. So they would abandon their wives. So all that we've gone through in America is through abandonment, as the black women dealing with the black men. It's all part of the curses. So I'm not saying this, just like to beat up on men per se, but I want to bring this out scripturally so that men could start owning up to their responsibilities and stop trying to blame women for everything when it's all, about the curses and the curses of how we went against the Most High, and mainly the men. We're suffering these curses because our disobedience to Ahaya. So this is a product of it. And I'm just giving you one example. It's Brian Knight, who is a celebrity, but how horribly his personality is. And he was very mean spirited and hateful. And this is the curses that a lot of these black men be dealing with. And they don't even see themselves. They don't really even acknowledge that they're just not nice. And I've done many videos on how some of these men are unaliving black women, their children. I mean, the list goes on and on of the constant disrespect, no protection, no love, no reverence of the Most High in anything that they're dealing with. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for 1 minute. And before I forget, I want to acknowledge that they put up a statue in Times Square like this week or so of a black woman, which is like totally to me like a slap in the face again to black men in captivity. Now, a lot of people even black women are talking against this statue because it's a woman that's kind of heavy. She's a heavy set black woman. But the fact that they will put a black woman, a statue, a big 12-foot bronze statue of a black woman in Babylon, the greatest city in the earth, is a total slap in the face to our brothers again, because that's the scripture says, there will be a new thing in the earth where the woman would surpass a man. And a lot of these brothers are taking this kind of stuff really to heart because they know in no other society, in no other nation is the woman being put over men. That is unheard of. This is happening, as again part of the curses. The most high is like slapping our men around, and showing them because the refusal to come back to him, the refusal to come back to the Lord's statutes and commandments, the refusal and the disobedience against his laws, his words, his covenants, they are not keeping the Lord's statutes. And it's very few. And even the ones who know the truth have been taken down. They took money, a lot of them. It's just a whole fiasco that's going on with the children of Israel because we are not coming back to the Most High. That's why I'm calling out, urging our people to get out of Babylon, get out of Babylon, get out of Babylon. The Most High is calling his people out, and Israel is just sitting there like, doo-doo-doo. They don't have a clue. The men are taken down. A lot of them, a lot of the higher ups are taken down. Like I told you, Elder Bakar. But a lot of these brothers they ain't taken down. They just refuse to leave. They know that something ain't right, and they refuse to come out of Babylon. Like the higher echelons of our brothers who know the truth, they may be taken down. But a lot of these brothers are regular men who, now, granted, a lot of them have passport issues. A lot of them have, because going to jail and this and that, they can't get a passport. Okay, granted. But there's still a lot of men who can get up out of Babylon. They see all this wickedness going on, and they refuse to leave. They refuse to come back to the Most High. It's just straight refusal, on a lot of these men's parts. So I just wanted to bring out about the statue before I forget, because I would forget. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about another situation. Candace Owens did an interview with Jason Lee on his Hollywood Unlocked. And it was a very good interview because she was asked about Kanye West. And because Kanye West is doing like the unthinkable things right now, like claiming he's gay and, he had a homosexual encounter with a cousin when he was young. I mean, he's really coming out with some stuff and talking, against Kim Kardashian, rightly so. And, even West, the daughter, Northwest, having issues. He's going through things. Praise AHAYAH for Candace Owens, because they wanted her to throw Kanye under the bus. She was asked by Jason Lee, what were her thoughts now on Kanye because of all this, stuff he's spewing out of his mouth. And praise AHAYAH. Sister went in, and I'm so thankful. That is a real, she's a real sound sister. She didn't go against that brother when he was, kicking winners down and, go against him because she could have had an opportunity. She was like, until we make this guy, the trainer, Kaepernick, I think is his last name, responsible for giving Kanye meds to try to take him to La La Land like he promised. She said, until we address that, I'll have nothing but Kanye's back. Praise AHAYAH. Bless the name of AHAYAH. Here's a sister, she refused to go against her brothers. And, rightfully so. We need to stand strong for our brothers, even though it's a fiasco going on right now. And this is why I urge our sisters to get out and stand and come to Jordan and prepare for those men who do make it out so that they can have a safe, platform and a safe place to come and recover, because our kings will stand. We will stand as a nation, and our king, our men, along, of course, with Yeshua Christ, who is the real king. But our brothers as well will stand with Yeshua, and they will rule this earth. And praise AHAYAH. Praise AHAYAH, brothers and sisters. So I just got to give it to my sister Candace Owens for not going against Kanye when she had the opportunity, when they was trying to bait her, for it. She came and brought it. I'm going to bring a video on that as well. Okay, so I'll be back. I'll find the first video of about Brian McKnight, and then I'll go into the Candace Owens. Be right back.
My shattered dreams and broken heart.
Brian McKnight here. There's been a lot of discussion online lately about how I talk about my family on social media.
He was a piece of father and he was an evil husband. And see, I know things about Brian that most people don't know.
To the world, he was the man who made heartbreak sound beautiful.
Like a dream come true, just wanna be with you.
But behind that voice was a man quietly rewriting his legacy, not with music, but with Instagram captions that erased his children.
Straight to let you guys know that abandonment has nothing to do with any of this. Deadbeat dad, I've been there every step of the way. And let's also remember that these kids are 30 and 27.
And now, Jaguar Wright, the same woman who warned us about Diddy, Jay-Z, and Clive Davis.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up.
Diddy has had a long career of using to trap.
Don't nobody want to talk about why R. Kelly's bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway.
She now says she has receipts on Brian McKnight, too.
Yes. But see, the thing that most people don't know is that had a real sick fetish because he used to pay her extra so that he could choke her out and punch her in her eye. And then he would just sit there and her and beat her and beat her.
Most people laughed her off until Brian sued her.
In case you didn't know, Brian McKnight has officially filed a lawsuit against fellow R&B singer Jaguar Wright.
And that's when fans remembered Jaguar's been right, over and over. And if she's right about Brian too, then every love song he ever sang was just a script. To the public, Brian McKnight was the definition of R&B royalty, the clean-cut crooner who made pain sound like poetry.
It's undeniable that we should be together.
But to Jaguar Wright, he was something else entirely. And now, Brian McKnight is suing her for it. According to newly surfaced court documents, Brian McKnight filed a defamation lawsuit against Jaguar Wright, the outspoken neo-soul singer known for exposing some of the music industry's darkest secrets. And this time, she came for Brian's legacy. In the suit, McKnight claims that Jaguar, who says she's a cousin of his ex-wife Julie McKnight, went public with disturbing accusations. She allegedly said Brian was a toward Julie during their marriage, an allegation McKnight calls completely false. He went on record stating he was never a and that he didn't even know Wright was related to Julie. But that wasn't the only claim that triggered the lawsuit. Jaguar reportedly alleged on social media that Brian used to hire and then physically assault them during encounters.
Yes. But see, the thing that most people don't know is that he got a real sick fetish because he used to pay her extra so that he could choke her out and punch her in her eye. And then he would just sit there and beat her and beat her.
Again, McKnight flatly denied it, labeling every accusation a malicious lie and filing for unspecified damages. Fans were immediately split, but one thing kept coming up: Jaguar Wright's track record. Back then, people dismissed her, until 2023, when the Diddy allegations exploded. Suddenly, her old videos felt like prophecy.
I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to find out what's really been going on in the background.
So, when Jaguar came for Brian, the timing mattered, because he wasn't just being accused, he was already deep in public controversy, not for what happened in the industry, but what happened at home, and fans who once might have brushed off her claims suddenly weren't so quick to ignore her. The question wasn't just whether Jaguar was telling the truth, it was whether Brian McKnight was hiding something even bigger. What made the lawsuit hit harder was that Brian McKnight had already been trending, and not for a good reason. His name had become internet shorthand for failed fatherhood. Before the controversy, before the estrangement, before the lawsuits and Instagram statements, Brian McKnight was R&B royalty. But beneath the music was a much more complex family story, one that fans are only now beginning to fully understand. Brian McKnight married his college sweetheart, Julie McKnight, and for over a decade, they appeared to have a rock-solid union. 13 years, 2 sons, Brian McKnight Jr. and Nico, and a successful music career defined the era. Their relationship became part of Brian's public image, but behind closed doors, that image would eventually shatter. Not only did Brian and Julie part ways, but Brian also had another child, a daughter named Brianna Kelly McKnight, with another woman. And according to persistent rumors, there may have even been yet another child from a separate liaison, though that's never been publicly confirmed. Still, at the time, Brian projected the image of a doting father and accomplished artist. He posed for photos with his sons, referenced his family in interviews, and kept his personal life mostly clean in the public eye. But everything began to shift when Leilani Mendoza entered the picture. Leilani came into Brian's life with 2 children of her own, Julia and Jack, from a previous relationship. When Brian married her, he not only embraced her kids, he effectively pressed a reset button on his public and private identities. Suddenly, the man who once talked about his sons was calling someone else his only true heir. He was praising stepchildren more openly than his own blood, and most notably, he started to erase his past, Julie, Brianna, Brian Jr., and Nico, from his narrative. This reset would become most painfully obvious, not through interviews, but through social media. Brian's pages were filled with glowing tributes to Leilani and her children, photos of them on vacation, celebrating holidays, and bonding as a family. Meanwhile, his biological children disappeared from the frame entirely. Then, in an interview with Karen Clark, Brian revealed something that left fans reeling.
Well, the ones that do, the only ones that speak to me are the ones I've written since Leilani came into my life, because those are the only ones that have a meaning.
Wow.
Sure, there were big hits before then, but they weren't based on anything, because I never even liked anyone before I met her.
He claimed none of his classic love songs, those same anthems people danced to at weddings, were about Julie. In fact, he said he never truly liked anyone until he met Leilani. According to Brian, only the songs written for her had any real emotional weight. And just like that, the memories tied to his early career were flipped upside down. The era of reinvention had officially begun. Brian McKnight's rebranding didn't stop at reinterpreting his old songs. It extended into something much more hurtful, redefining his entire family. At the center of this rewrite was the assertion that his youngest son, his child with Leilani, was his only true heir. It's not that he kept quiet about his new family. Quite the opposite. Brian was loudly, publicly devoted to them. He posted tributes to Leilani, calling her the greatest love he'd ever known. He praised her children as if they were his own flesh and blood. His stepson, Jack, described as his pride and joy. His stepdaughter, Julia, once labeled the best daughter he's ever had. But it was when Brian and Leilani welcomed their biological son that things took an even more dramatic turn. This wasn't just another child. This was, as Brian put it, the start of a new legacy. In one particularly pointed Instagram post, he wrote, "After I'm gone, I bestow upon you all the fruits of my labor as my true heir to take care of you and yours for the generations to come." That line didn't just raise eyebrows. It ignited a firestorm. To publicly crown one child his heir while ignoring the existence of the others was a bold, polarizing move, especially when the children being pushed to the side weren't strangers. They were Brian Jr., Nico, and Brianna. The subtext was clear. Brian was wiping the slate clean. In interviews, he distanced himself from his previous relationships. In captions, he waxed poetic about his new life, his new wife, and his new son. The message? This is my real family now. But it wasn't just subtle favoring. It became overt exclusion. Fans noticed. The internet noticed. And, most of all, his estranged children noticed. And it wasn't long before those kids, particularly Brianna, decided to speak out. Brian may have thought the public would accept his new narrative, but the backlash was brewing. And soon, even old videos and interviews would be used as evidence against him. The story wasn't just about who Brian loved, it was about who he left behind. Everything boiled over on a day meant for love and celebration, Mother's Day. Brian McKnight uploaded a heartfelt post dedicated to his wife, Leilani. It was warm, poetic, and full of grief over the loss of their son, Kekoa Mateo. But the glaring issue? The children who weren't in the frame. The post read, "Happy Mother's Day to my beautiful wife. I treasure this picture. It was our last family picture before the birth of our son, Kekoa Mateo. Baby, you are the greatest example of being a mother I've ever witnessed." In the photo, Brian cradled Leilani's pregnant belly, while Julia and Jack stood by their side. It was a portrait of a loving, modern family. But what about his other children? Brianna, Nico, Brian Jr., completely absent, and the internet took notice. He went on. "Today was supposed to be Kekoa's due date, and I know how hard him not being here in the flesh with us is weighing incredibly heavy on us. But I know he is with us just like Julia and Jack are, as shining examples of your exceptional motherhood." Then he added, "For the very first time in my life, I got to experience what it's like to want to and plan to have a child made from love. And even though he was separated from us too soon, I wouldn't trade that gift you gave me for anything in the whole world." The words were touching. They captured grief, but they also delivered a brutal truth. Brian was openly stating that this was his first experience with real love, with true fatherhood. He wrote, "I've never been prouder in my life than I am right now being the father to our 3 incredible children." The backlash exploded. To the public, this wasn't just a tribute, it was a rejection. Fans didn't see a man mourning a loss. They saw a father broadcasting favoritism loudly. The narrative became clear. Brian had chosen a new family and discarded the old one. And social media wasted no time dragging him for it. The image was set. Brian McKnight, once the voice of love, now sounded like the architect of estrangement. Within days of the backlash, an old video from 2019 resurfaced.
Let you guys know that abandonment has nothing to do with any of this. Deadbeat dad, I've been there every step of the way. And let's also remember that these kids are 30 and 27.
The timing of the resurfacing was brutal. Fans were angry, and the video only poured gasoline on the fire. Brian then went on record claiming that he never truly loved anyone before Leilani. McKnight first responded to the backlash with an Instagram post on the same day with dated pictures of his kids, shared by both he and wife Leilani Malia Mendoza, and a caption. Not sure how these posts that have been sitting here this whole time were left out of the false narrative that is trending. Abandonment? There's always more to every story. Stay tuned, he wrote in a since-deleted Instagram caption. But the damage was done. Fans noticed the photos were outdated. No recent moments, no signs of an ongoing bond. He wasn't proving a connection. He was proving a memory. And it wasn't enough. On May 12th, 2023, he used his Instagram stories to issue a statement. To whom it may concern, no abandonment, no made-up story, no false statements, no defamation. Then he added, "I never abandoned anyone. Our estrangement was mutual, but those posts made any roads towards reconciliation and acknowledging them a dead issue. And I changed my will the next day." The phrasing was jarring. The dead issue reference felt final, as if Brian was closing the book on his relationship with his older children for good. And saying he changed his will the next day, that was a gut punch. He ended with, "I've spent the last 30 plus years building a recognized, respectable name. And ironically, there are still people out there who are trying to smear my name while still carrying it, hoping to use it for their own benefit." There was no apology, no acknowledgement of hurt feelings, just defense, just blame. Then came the quote that silenced even his supporters. "I make absolutely no apologies for naming my infant son Brian. I want him and the world to know that he is the one who is my true legacy." This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a declaration, and it was personal. The backlash against Brian McKnight wasn't just about words, it escalated into legal territory. In 2020, Brianna Kelly McKnight, his estranged daughter, filed a lawsuit against him for defamation. The accusation that Brian maliciously spread lies about her on social media, including one disturbing claim that she had engaged in relations with her cousin when she was still a According to court documents obtained by Radar Online, Brianna alleged that Brian's motive was personal animosity. She had posted on Instagram about growing up with an unnamed absent father. She didn't mention Brian by name, but he reacted publicly, accusing her of promiscuity and in a post that was unmistakably directed at her. Brian wrote, "And unfortunately along the way, a couple of years ago, I caught wind that there was an older cousin who was above 18, who was quite possibly having S with her." He didn't stop there. He reportedly claimed that Brianna's mother only had a child with me for money in the first place. It was brutal, public, and, according to Brianna, completely fabricated. In her suit, she stated plainly, Brianna had never engaged in any contact of any kind with any relative of any age while a minor or otherwise. She also emphasized that she didn't believe anyone ever told Brian such a thing, suggesting he simply made it up to discredit her. Brian denied wrongdoing, arguing his statements were substantially true. He claimed he wasn't being malicious, just defending himself. In legal filings, he painted a different picture. A father fed up with entitled children who were trying to smear his name for attention. He said Brianna and her mother had lived off his financial munificence for 18 years, and that she attended private schools and had access to the best doctors thanks to his generosity. According to Brian, her online post was the final straw. He called his response a defense against false narratives. "I spoke hard truths about my children, their sense of entitlement, their lack of appreciation, and the false implication that I abandoned them." The case didn't go to trial. In February 2023, both parties agreed to dismiss it, but the damage to relationships, reputations, and fan perceptions was already done. While Brian defended himself in interviews, lawsuits, and carefully crafted Instagram posts, his children began speaking for themselves, and their words weren't just reactive. They were heartbreaking, raw, and deeply revealing. In the Instagram post that reportedly triggered her father's wrath, Brianna wrote, "Daddy's little girl was never really a thing for me. Nobody understands what I've been through except for my siblings." Her caption didn't name Brian, but the pain in her message pointed clearly at him. She continued, "I grew up thinking that the things that happened to me and my dad's relationship was my fault. I grew up thinking that he doesn't want to come to visit me because he doesn't love me. It's knowing that my phone calls have to go through a stranger I barely know, that my text messages are read without a response, and that my stepmother tells me that they wish the best for me." She went further. "It me to know that it's so hard for me and my siblings to get a word in. Not one word. At a very young age, I was always second place in my father's heart, maybe even third, fourth, or fifth, depending on the situation. My father hasn't called to wish me a happy birthday in years, and yet I sit by the phone every single year, hoping that one day his heart will change." Her brother, Brian McKnight Jr., also broke his silence. In a separate post, he wrote, "I can't imagine abandoning my children, man. It's hard not to imagine the psyche of a man who truly just turned his back on his actual sons, on his actual blood and creations. It's mind-boggling to me. He added, "I don't think there is any situation that merits the way my father has chosen to treat my brother, my sisters, and his grandchildren, one of which being his firstborn's firstborn son, who also bears our name. It's insane to me to have absolutely no empathy for the type of life he introduced us to, only to resent us for that life catching up with us." It was a scathing yet vulnerable portrait of abandonment, one that fans could no longer ignore. As the McKnight family drama continued to unfold, the public response became impossible to ignore. Fans, followers, and even casual observers flooded comment sections, quote-tweeted his posts, and launched passionate debates across every corner of the internet. While Brian tried to paint his actions as reasonable, countless voices online felt something entirely different: betrayal, cruelty, and the erasure of black fatherhood at its most painful. One user summed up the collective outrage with a direct message to Brian: "Sir, you are talking about the children you brought into this world. This is literally wild. You are erasing your family with your chest out, and the fact that your wife even agreed to naming that child Brian is insane. I hate the internet for me discovering who Brian McKnight really is. This is some beyond evil mess." Another added, "Calling your youngest son your true legacy when you have other biological children is so hurtful. Publicly announcing that you are not proud of your biological children is unnecessarily cruel. You can be estranged from your kids, but you don't need to be so callous. You don't need to go out of your way to harm them. This is vile behavior from a grown man." And perhaps most cutting of all was this statement from a fan: "Sir, no one is upset about your happily ever after. Being a parent is a lifetime commitment. 4 kids that are your blood, that you do not communicate with, reflects poorly on you, not them. You failed. I am sure these kids suffered because of your career. You should never give up on your kids. The fact that your wife doesn't see this as a problem and co-signed with you publishing this video speaks volumes about both of your character. The audacity and the narcissistic behavior is what is causing the outrage." These weren't just keyboard warriors. Many were longtime fans who had once revered Brian's music. People who walked down the aisle to Back at One, who found solace in One Last Cry, who now couldn't reconcile the singer's lyrics with the man he had become. The hurt ran deep, not just for the children he left behind, but for the fans who felt they had been sold a lie. Across TikTok, YouTube commentary channels, and viral tweet threads, Brian McKnight's name trended for all the wrong reasons. What began as a family dispute had exploded into a full-blown reckoning. The conversation had shifted. This wasn't just about Brian. It was about accountability. It was about the image of the black father, and whether someone as famous and as flawed as Brian McKnight deserved the benefit of the doubt anymore. Despite the wave of backlash, Brian McKnight remained largely silent in the face of growing criticism. There were no heartfelt apologies, no attempts to mend what had been broken. His silence wasn't just noticeable, it was strategic. While the world debated his legacy, Brian chose to stay behind his social media wall, only speaking in cryptic captions or carefully worded posts. This silence, for many, was louder than words. In a culture where public figures often issue apologies or clarifications to mitigate controversy, Brian's refusal to address the hurt caused to his children directly sent a clear message. Reconciliation wasn't on the table. Meanwhile, his estranged children were still living with the emotional weight of being erased in real time. For them, this wasn't an internet moment. It was their actual lives. Every post declaring a new legacy, every picture omitting their existence, reopened wounds that had barely begun to scab. Even among his remaining supporters, cracks began to form. Some questioned whether Brian understood the gravity of what he had done. Others speculated that perhaps he had built so many walls around himself, emotionally, publicly, legally, that facing the truth had become impossible. The cost wasn't just personal, it was professional. Radio stations stopped spinning his tracks. Online threads labeled him a cautionary tale. Younger audiences who might have been introduced to his catalog now knew him first and foremost as the R&B singer who abandoned his kids. Yet, through it all, Brian continued to post about Leilani, about Julia and Jack, about his infant son. The captions were full of praise, of warmth, of legacy, but never of regret. It was as if the erasure of his previous family had been fully processed, signed, and sealed. In many ways, the silence became the headline. Not what Brian McKnight said, but what he refused to say. The apology that never came. The birthdays never acknowledged. The messages never returned. That silence to many was the final betrayal. Fans and critics alike were left asking the same question. Was this really the same man who once sang about love so tender it brought people to tears? Or had that all been a performance? And if so, who really was Brian McKnight? Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.
That's just part of the video. I'll put the for fair use. I'll put it in the fair use department, hopefully, and I'll put the link in the description box so that y'all can see the whole video. But basically, it's just talking about how Jaguar Wright gave this information on Brian McKnight, and I just happened to have met Brian McKnight myself. You know, very brief encounter, but the spirit wasn't right. The brother was very mean-spirited, was evil, and I never forgot it. And I always thought, like, oof, that dude is not nice. And so, you know, I'm not surprised about what he's doing on the internet with his family and stuff like that. I happened to watch also Tasha K's. She had an interview with the wife, and I was looking to see if she mentioned it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I was just skipping around, and I don't think she even mentioned that there was abuse in the relationship, but it'll come out. But also, I wanted to just mention that also I met Jill Scott. She's another one who Jaguar White talks about, and talks about her. And again, I had the same kind of encounter with Jill Scott. Very not nice, and I've met several celebrities, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like these are the first two or, that I've met, but these were the two that I remember were not nice. They were not nice people. Jill Scott was really catty and very, type of sister you can't be friends with. She was looking at me up and down. And maybe it was because, let me tell you, it was at the Brooklyn, well, I forgot what it was called, like a Brooklyn barbecue. It was in Brooklyn. They did a big thing. Mos Def was there. Lauryn Hill was there, and the Fugees was supposed to reunite during this time. It was a big, Dave Chappelle was all there. Like, all these celebrities was there. So they were all nice. I mean, Mos Def, we met a few of them there. They were all cool, except Jill Scott. I mean, she was just so not nice. And maybe it was because it was more like a natural thing, like everybody kind of wore afros and this and this. It was that kind of vibe because it was the neo soul vibe. And I just happened to have on a wig down to my butt. Saying this particular day. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was it was actually before I woke up to the truth, but really close to that time because it was like early 2000. And I ended up being in New York. And I went to this occasion, to the block party that Dave Chappelle threw, and all the celebrities there. And this is my first time meeting Jill Scott. And when I tell you she was so not nice, and I thought I chalked it off as maybe because I had the wig on and I had the weave on. And a lot of the girls there were natural because it was kind of like a neo soul vibe. So I chalked it off as that. But now, in retrospect, looking back, feeling the vibe of that sister, she was so not nice, so catty, wasn't, like, the sister vibe that the neo soul gives. Everybody's supposed to be, into the sister, the love, and da-da-da. There was none of that with Jill Scott either. So I just want to give that as my little testimony of these celebs. That because Jaguar right, always bring these things out. And I don't think she's lying about none of the stuff she's talking about. And people always like, how do you know this? How does she know all these things? Because the industry is a small industry. It's not that small, not that big. These people you do run, especially if you have somewhat of a name and a following and you in the circles, you can easily be around and hear what's going on with folks. Because I remember I wasn't even in that much, but we were signed, and I know a lot of information about Biggie. Hold on, Biggie and Lauryn Hill with the Fugees when they were getting together, and when Lauryn was supposed to be messing around with Wyclef. I was privy to that information. I was privy to Biggie was leaving Bad Boy. Was on the word on the street because I was around different producers. A lot of people were in this industry, and people be talking. So you hear about what's going on, even if you're not really close. A lot of these people are very intermingled. The producers, the rappers, the DJs, the show promoters, all, know. Everybody be knowing what's going on. The people who dress people, the agents, the people who runs the agencies and who will book you. So you'll hear about people and you'll hear about what's going on with people. Because I know I was privy to a lot of information, not so much, and I don't talk about a lot of stuff, but I'm only bringing this out because of Brian McKnight and how it fits the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And I always talk about how brothers be so mean. They really hateful, mean-spirited. A lot of our brothers, unfortunately, they, not nice. And then I went into the whole unalivement of the daughters of Zion. I did a whole series on that with a lot of these brothers taken out, and it's still going on. I just don't talk too much about it because there's a lot of other stuff that's going on, like Get Out of Babylon. The place is just a full-fledged demonic, entity. You need to get out of Babylon, brothers and sisters. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And it's falling just like the scripture said, and it's time to go. It's time to get out. Jordan is the safe place. There is a place of refuge that AHAYAH has allotted for the children of Israel. So I pray that y'all get out, get out, get out. Okay, so I wanted to mention just that statue that's in Times Square. That's another slap in the face to black men, because brothers have such problems with sisters. They just don't like them because they don't really like themselves. They're suffering the curses and they're taking it out on the closest thing to them, which are black women. So, it's just a sad situation, and this is how our enemy will pin one against the other. So, this will even make more black men outraged. Now, it seems to be a problem even with black women, and I'm just hearing this afar off, but not too much, that black women are saying, like, why that type? Because she seemed to be like a plus-size woman, that's in Times Square. It's a big statue of a bigger woman, so, I guess sisters are grumbling about that. And it doesn't bother me, because it just doesn't bother me, and I don't hear so much that it's bothering a lot of sisters, but you never know. So, but I did want to mention that again as part of the curses, because in the scriptures, and I'll pull out the scriptures. I'll put these scriptures in the description box. That it says there's a new thing that will be done in the earth, that a woman shall compass a man, and all through America, they have been using the daughters of Zion against our brothers, but not in the way that black men like to paint the picture. Black men have been very much against their families and doing horrific things in the community over these years, over time. And so it got to the point where black women are just like, they're not having it anymore. They used to try to cloak and hide a lot of the atrocities that our men were committing. But, women are not doing that anymore. And then they started, dating outside the race and putting other nations before the black women. So black women just really have basically had it. with black men, and our men really need to really repent. It should be a call for repentance with these men, with our brothers. I mean, and stop all the foolishness, stop all the cat. It needs to be a call for repentance with the men of the Most High, and the daughters of Zion, I'm sure, will follow suit. But it should be a focus on these men to come back to the Most High and repent for the 400 years of atrocity that they have been keeping going on in America because of the captivity. Even to now, to this day, that they don't even want to come back to the Most High. Most of the majorities of men have gotten out of the Bible. They don't want to even hear. They're into Wabics. They're into, all these other Muslim. They any place else but really coming back to this Bible and the Lord's statutes and commandments. And it's really because of they don't even want to regard the Most High. They have issues about going into slave ships. They don't want to read the Bible. They don't want to come back to the Bible. I talk to a lot of men, and I hear what they're saying. And I'm not talking about brothers in the truth. I'm talking about men who are not coming back to the truth, and they don't even want to, hear about this Bible. They are so broken and bruised and, that they don't even want to hear about the Bible. So we have to depend on the men who do know the truth and who are awakening. But even them are, it's a sad case at this point. Now I know the Bible is true. I know that they will come back. I know the Most High is going to have his kingdom. It's said, it's written, and I believe it. But the process, we're in the midst of the process. We're watching the children of Israel coming back to this truth. And this is my assessment. It's what I see happening with these men. Our brothers are really broken. And we need to really do a lot of prayer for the men of the Most High. As far as sisters who are, prayer warriors and who are, righteous women. We have to really be fasting and praying for our brothers, because a lot of intervention is being needed. Because not only because of there's physical and spiritual forces working against us and working hard and heavy against us, is that the refusal from our people to really want to come back. The refusal. And I'm talking about even on the Hebrew Israelite level, where people are still sitting in Babylon refusing to come out. This is a part of it too. You are upholding Babylon. You are upholding the wickedness. You are refusing to obey the command of come out of my people, because you don't really honor and respect AHAYAH the way you claim you do. This is what I see. This is what the Most High had me to come out and speak about. Daughter, speak. And I must speak and tell the truth about the matter. We can sugarcoat it and act like, oh, Kwam Yasha Allah. But the fact that our people are still sitting in Babylon and they're still not coming out of my people as the Most High commanded says a lot. It says a lot. Because Babylon the Great is falling. It should have been fell. It's holding on by strings only because the children of Israel are still mulling around, like they're in the wilderness for 40 years. This is why. We're giving that place energy, and we're giving that place our strength, really, at this point. Okay, so I wanted now to go to the next video I wanted to show. Praise AHAYAH. And give me 1 second. Let me find out. I don't forgot what it was. Hold on. Again, let me see. It was also about. Oh, I did a lot of that. Oh, it was Candace Owens and Kanye, and how she didn't throw him under the bus. Praise AHAYAH. And this is a very good video. Again, fair use. I pray I don't get strikes, but I ain't really, very really, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, because they really hiding my videos at this point. But I wanted to show this brother. His name is Isaiah Robin, and I'm try to put his link into the description box as well. Please support him and go to his video. But he did an excellent coverage of Candace Owens. being asked about Ye. Okay, so here's the video, and I wanted to talk about it.
Okay, guys, so Candace Owens was on the Jason Lee show. I think we did like 2 episodes on here. But this one is interesting because she got asked a question about Kanye West, and she gave an answer that nobody was expecting her to give, especially if you know or seen a lot of different interviews with Candace Owens. You are not expecting this answer she gave when she got asked about Kanye West. Check out this clip.
Yeah.
I will always love Ye. I will always defend him because I think he did one of the bravest things in speaking about what happened to him, and the questions were never answered about what Harley Pasternak did to him that night. And I think it's what was done to Britney Spears based on my readings of MK Ultra program, which has never been stopped. I think Harley Pasternak it's extremely problematic, and he's literally telling you what happened to him and no one's listening. And everyone's like, he's gone crazy. They drugged me against my will, and when you read those experiments of how they could literally give somebody a mental disorder via a cocktail of drugs, LA becomes very scary.
Who was that? I didn't hear
Harley
that.
Pasternak,
Yeah.
The trainer that trains all the stars that keep dying in baths.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Aaron Carter, when he reached out to Kanye, and when Kanye said Harley Pasternak did this, Aaron Carter tweeted at Kanye and said, we should talk, and then that was his last tweet. The next day, Aaron Carter was found dead in the bath. There's something very evil brewing in Hollywood, and I think he was one of the bravest people ever who spoke out on what happened to him. And I won't deal with everybody talking about the after when we're not talking about the before.
Mm-hmm. You don't think his stuff is a bit much now, though?
Like I said, we got to deal with the before. Like Kanye was Kanye, and then Harley Pasternak took him to his house and got an ambulance and had him drugged and admitted that in a text message. He said, I'll do it again and we'll take you to La La Land. He was military trained in the Canadian military and was allowed to experiment with drugs on humans. He spoke about that openly. What the hell is he doing as a gym trainer in LA to all the stars? So I have questions about what happened to Kanye, and I will always be, until we get those answers and the media really looks into Harley Pasternak, who was also Brittany Murphy's trainer. It's just weird.
I know you're smart. I can smell the...
So she brought up Harley Pasternak, who Kanye has mentioned many different times, and talking about MK Ultra. I don't know if you guys know about MK Ultra, but it's crazy what she just said about, stars being able to have a mental breakdown or illness because of something put in their drink or a pill given to them. I never even thought about that. Because when you look at Britney Spears right now, who she just brought up, boy, oh boy, you got to question what's going on. He was also the trainer for Brittany Murphy. Isn't that interesting? Overdose. Mac Miller, overdose. And I guess he was trying to do that to Kanye West.
We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on PSYOPs in the Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me, and they when I asked them how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look.
They would have Michael Jackson.
Or worse, yeah.
So
Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston. We just talked about them. We just talked about them on the show a couple days ago. How they all overdosed. How? Strangely enough, Michael Jackson's doctor was arrested. Whitney Houston was found in a bathtub with the lights off, but when her friend who was in the bathroom with her left for 30 minutes, the light was on. And Whitney was already in the bathtub. So what Whitney, get out the bathtub, turn the lights off, and then get back in the bathtub? Interesting enough, Kanye West and Pasternak ran into each other in Dubai. Kanye West's ex-trainer Harley Pasternak calls hotel security after Dubai run-in. So his trainer called security on Kanye. Right? Oh, yeah, that's a good cover up. Kanye West believes his ex-trainer, Harley Pasternak, is stalking him around Dubai. They did run into each other there, but TMZ has learned it's Harley who felt threatened enough to call for backup. I don't believe none of these platforms no more. They all liars.
And then Mac Miller, I don't know if you remember, the 26-year-old rapper who died also of an accidental drug overdose. Pasternak had told Page Six that he was just about to see Miller. Miller was just about to walk into his studio on the day that he died. He said, quote, "I was mid-session with someone expecting him to show up about 45 minutes later. One of the ladies who works with me walked in with a kind of blank look on her face and held up her phone, and there was the news release about Miller's death." And then there's Aaron Carter, to connect the dots with you, because this one has always bothered me the most. On the very day that Kanye West tweeted out Harley Pasternak's tweets, Aaron Carter responded to Kanye West. You can see that date on November 3rd, responded to that text message that Kanye shared, and he said, "Yo, Kanye, let's talk man to man." They never had the opportunity to talk because less than 48 hours later, Aaron Carter was found dead. He died at his home in Lancaster, California, at the age of 34, and his body was found in a bathtub by his housekeeper. And the LA County Medical Examiner's coroner, and you guys know if you're reading Chaos, that what they rule these deaths means absolutely nothing compared to what the facts are, said that it was just accidental. He drowned after he wanted to speak to Kanye West about the Harvey Pasternak text messages. Harley Pasternak, pardon me.
My goodness. Aaron drowned, Whitney drowned. Grown adults drowning. Feel bad for the whole Aaron thing, man. I know a brother who was very, very close to Aaron Carter. Sad situation. I don't believe in coincidences, guys. When you got Harley Pasternak texting Kanye West, let's just show you.
And you go back to Zombie Land forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same. This is the way a Hollywood trainer was talking to me.
Meanwhile, fans found some wild info about Harley Pasternak, and it turned out that before he became a Hollywood trainer, he actually worked for the Canadian government. And get this, was stationed at a military facility studying ways to influence human behavior with mind-altering substances. One person on X connected the dots, showing how Harley is also linked to several celebs who had mental breakdowns or died under mysterious circumstances, including Mac Miller and Brittany Murphy. And then this interview resurfaced where Harley himself admitted that his government job allowed him to experiment with all kinds of mind-altering substances without having to worry about the legal side of it all.
Got recruited by the military to help run essentially the superhuman lab, this laboratory called the Defense and Civil Institute of Environmental Medicine. And the area that I was interested in was how drugs and food affect muscular performance. And
when you say drugs, was that like performance enhancing drugs, or are they
all kinds of drugs?
Oh, right, okay.
So working for the military, I wasn't governed by the same laws that the typical person was, so I could look at the impact of certain drugs that are not everyday things.
Now, when Kanye later talked to some paparazzi about Harley's threats, he said this was exactly what Hollywood handlers do when celebs try to break free from their control.
This is a trainer, but come to find out, he was actually Canadian intelligence, but this is my trainer.
So he was recruited by the military, he said, to work in superhuman labs. I don't know if you guys understand what that means. Superhuman labs means there's some kind of experiments going on with humans. People just like to just roll stuff off the tongue, though, expecting you not to really pick it up. No. We're not going to do that here. We're going to pick it right up and understand what you said. Sir, you said you worked in superhuman labs.
So that's where the story stood until the other day. Nobody believed Kanye West. Then West posted something remarkable on Twitter, which for some reason virtually all of American media ignored, which is odd because media outlets are not usually in the business of ignoring remarkable things, but they did. And what he posted was a picture of a text exchange that he had had with Harley Pasternak. Pasternak was explaining that...
So this is Pasternak's text to Kanye, right? I'm going to help you one of a couple ways. First, You and I sit down and have a loving, open conversation, but you don't use cuss words. And everything that is discussed is based in fact and not some crazy stuff that dumb friend of yours told you or you saw in a tweet. Second option, I have you institutionalized again where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to zombie land forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same. Just reading that gave me chills. Like, it's a grown man you talking to. It's a grown man. You realize that if Kanye would have continued with whoever this is, he probably wouldn't even be here. I mean, he's already in a state right now where he's lost his mind. But doesn't seem like Britney Spears' mind loss. Like, he seems like he's battling spiritually. Britney somewhere else. Okay? Britney on a whole nother planet doing hula hoops. Britney somewhere else. It's wild. I pray for her to come out of that, to come into light. You know, people like that, it's sad. It's sad to see. You know, you see them grow up in the spotlight, and then they get older and they're gone. It's truly sad to see. But the whole situation with Candace and what she said about Kanye, wasn't expecting it. Her loyalty to her friend is admirable, to be honest. She chooses not to say anything bad about him. Not saying that she agrees with his actions. You know, maybe she can reach out to him and knock some sense into his head. You know, plant a seed into him. I pray that Kanye gets it together and the Lord pulls him out of the darkness that he's in. I do. Because he's definitely in darkness. And if he passes away with that darkness with him, he's going somewhere he doesn't want to go. So I definitely pray he comes out of it. Amen. Let me know what you guys think about the video. God bless. Shalom.
Whitney's daughter drowned. I mean, yeah. And I just really wanted to bring this out because I'm like, get out of Babylon, y'all. What do you need to see? Like, this thing is just so bad. It's so bad. You know, they're setting up shop. They're setting up for our people, you know, there's no food. The stores will be moving the food. The trucks are not bringing any food. I mean, it's really, really, really getting to the point where it's, it's at emergency levels. The several wars that's going on, the banks closing and stores closing, everything is coming down in droves, in droves, and droves. Get out of Babylon, brothers and sisters. Jordan is the safe place. Trust AHAYAH. He said, come out of her, my people. We have to figure out a way. As a people, we have to learn to trust the Most High. And this is the whole point, of the Most High bringing us out, to bring us back under Him, to bring us back under the Lord's statutes and commandments, so that we can learn Him and learn out how to honor and praise Him. He wants to be glorified in this earth, and He's using His people to glorify Him. So that's why we have to come back into the wilderness again. Don't let people deceive you and think that you ain't got to come back to the wilderness, to Kadesh. This is where it all started for us as a nation, and this is going to be the new beginning for us before we go into back into the Holy Land, our land. I give all glory, honor, and praise to AHAYAH. I really just wanted to come and touch on these subjects, giving you food for thought as the awakening. These are the chronicles of the awakening of the children of Israel. Thank you for joining me at Napa Here Chronicles. Please like, share, subscribe. Go to Hebrewism.com. If you're interested in learning our language, ancient Phoenician Hebrew, I'll put the link in the description box, Hebrewism.com. And I am Hebrew 123. I am now offering the beginning classes for ancient Phoenician Hebrew. If you want to learn the language, I'm practically giving it away. $5 guys. $5, I mean. And, because I initially offered that to my Patreon members, but then they totally took my Patreon down, so I'm now giving it on my website. Please come, learn the language, get this information so that we can learn our language as you make your way back into the Holy Land, into Jordan, where we are to be safe. The Most High said He will protect those found within His borders. Jordan is the safe place. Don't wait, guys, till it's too late. Get your stuff together and get out. I give all glory, praise, and honor to AHAYAH Hath, Bahashim Yeshaya, Wakudashawak. I pray this was sufficient information. I pray that is enough to get your wheels going and that you see the patterns of our enemies and how they work against us. Unfortunately, there's infiltration all through the Hebrew Israelite community. All the men have been taken down. Anyone who has significance, and the other ones are just following, and they're refusing to obey AHAYAH, to come out of Babylon, to stand strong in Jordan and proclaim AHAYAH Hath, Bahashim Yeshaya. Our King is coming. Yeshaya is coming. And we are to prepare for the marriage. Get ready, brothers and sisters. Get out, get out, get out. Shalom. Travel safe. And contact me. My information is in the description box. If you need any help, let me know. I give all glory and praise to AHAYAH Hath, Bahashim Yeshaya, Wa Kodash Wa. Shalom.